Sometimes it's hard to go from meditating. We've had a lot of concentration inward, going inward. But if you've got any thoughts that you'd like to share with others, then that would be welcome.
I'd like to share that so much of the time we think that what appears on the outside is what is, whether it's the street we're in, the people we see around us, the job we're doing, whatever we're engaged in, whether I'm going to bed or whether I'm getting up or eating my food or whatever I'm doing, that is it. We don't see underneath there's all these causes, and we're creating causes all the time, and the whole of our life is not what we see on the surface. That's just a kind of appearance coming from that. So these meditations this afternoon helped me really to see that. I just want to share that.
I had a question. Maybe it's I don't know, how come a murderer, he was born as in the higher level as a human, and if you are in the lower realm, how can you get out of it if you are an enemy or something or a ghost?
The answer is not easily, but not impossible, because it's possible for any of those lower realm beings to have some positive thought at the time of their death, even, because they also have the potentials for a high rebirth. And somebody brought up the question about when a dog was in great pain and they put it to sleep, yes, when it means we terminate its life, which of course is understandable, but there's also something very positive about helping your pet to die with a positive mind, because then it's possible they can ripen the cause for a positive rebirth, and you can also say prayers and mantras in their ear and so forth. So there are ways that lower realm beings can be reborn in the higher realms. In fact, I read a really interesting newsletter 2 days ago about Lama Zopa Rinpoche. I mean, he's creating all these causes for animals to have higher realm rebirths all the time. Blessing them and taking them around stupas and so many different things, like putting mantras into lakes and the sea, and there's so many things that we can do also to help the animals actually. And there's also practices you can do for the spirits. You know, it depends how far you want to go into this. So we can help them. So the Buddhas are always trying to help the lower realm beings. And even the beings in the hell realm can have a positive thought. There's one very powerful story of when the Buddha was in the hell realm, and he was have to pull a cart, a very heavy cart. It's with somebody else, and this other person kept falling over, and so this this guard in the hell realm was whipping him, and really, really horrible. So the Buddha wished, may the suffering of that one fall on me. Somehow that wish came, even though he was in the hell realm, he had the imprint of that wish. And the result of that was that the Buddha, who was at that time in the hell, he instantly died and was reborn in the human realm through that thought. So these are just stories, obviously, but it is possible. But as you say, it's very, very difficult, because normally they die without a positive mind. For example, many of the fish are eaten by other fish, or by seabirds, or they're taken in the net by the fishing boats. And so they die in a very disturbed state of mind. So probably they will create the cause, throwing the ripened result, the projected cause, to again be born in the lower realm. Probably. So samsara is not a good place. There's no doubt when you study this. It's not a good place. There are possibilities, and we are among the very fortunate ones to be able to do something. But generally, beings are completely oppressed by their karma and completely bound in a prison by their karma.
How come a murderer was born as a human?
How come we were be born as a human? Did you say?
No, a murderer.
A murderer. Okay, so we all have many different karmas. So definitely the projecting karma of that person was for the human realm, which means living an ethical life. That is the karma to be born as a human is a very ethical life in general. So they had that. That one ripened. But meanwhile they also had the effect similar of the action similar to the cause from having killed in a previous life. Even we ourselves in this life, many different karmas are creating the circumstances of this life. It's not just one karma. Does this make sense? We have many karmas. It's the positive karma which leads to being a human. But negative karma would make you a murderer. This person is not intrinsically a murderer. They just have a disposition to kill. That's true. But they can stop it also. If they learn, if they feel that's not a good thing to do, they can restrain themselves and reprogram their mind. It's possible.
Do you understand that?
You're assuming that one karma creates the whole life and all the circumstances in it. That is wrong. Many karmas create this life. Many karmas, some good, some bad. But the one that put us as a human is a good one. But then also some bad ones meant we had some bad things happen to us, or some bad things that we tend to do. So we have a mixture. But we also have some good ones because we tend to do some good things too. So don't let this study make you depressed. There's good and bad stories in here. I think it's very important to remember.
And you also emphasize all the time, at the time of death, if he has a positive or negative thought. Yeah. And let's say somebody did a lot of good things and purified himself from, and at the end of his life he was sick and had bad thoughts or whatever.
But you're only thinking about the next life. All the good things they did are not wasted. They will also ripen. They will also ripen.
To ask something about regret. For example, if we take the story that you told us about the insects and your son, okay? That you had. Okay. So, or it is similar, because I feel I remember something similar, it doesn't matter. I know that if I would have been again in the same situation, I would have behaved the same.
Yeah.
So it is making me very difficult to regret, because this is not a true regret. I regret it after gaining the good result. So it is very hard for me to regret here purely. I feel this is okay, because there are actions that I truly regret that I did, and because there is craving here. The moment I did something good for my son, or I did something good for someone else, it doesn't matter. But by doing that, I did another thing that is not good. So
actually, in the example of killing the cockroaches
Yeah.
in order to protect the health of the child.
Yeah.
At the time of making the decision, I will do that, or I will organize that, you know that you are creating negative karma. You know that you will have some bad results, but out of compassion for the child, you decide, I will take the negative results so that you can be healthy. At that time, you decide that. So that's the first point. The second point is, in relation to all those insects, those cockroaches or whatever, you feel so sorry that they have such a miserable life, and probably most of them will be reborn again like that. But meanwhile, you do many things that you can in order to bring about a good rebirth for them, like reciting mantras directed at them and so forth. So you are trying to reduce the negative, but still you will have some negative effects. You will have. You can maybe purify later, but there is something to regret in that they were harmed. That is what you regret, of course. But in terms of the whole decision, you say, as you did, I would also say, I'm sorry to say, but another time I would make the same decision, because I think I have to do that. I mean, these things are tricky, aren't they? There's many examples like that. I mean, we haven't mentioned it, but why not mention abortion? Sometimes it might be that one has to decide to have an abortion because it's like impossible to give a child a good life. Might be. But nevertheless, there is the karma of killing. You can't deny it. So you have to make these decisions in a very balanced way, and you have to do everything you can to make something positive from it, whatever. I mean, life is like that. It's complicated, isn't it?
It makes a difference too if you don't rejoice that the animal has died as a result of your need to do that. It weakens it. It doesn't stop the karma altogether, but it's not the same as if you do something and then you're that's fantastic. I'm really pleased that I've done that. Yeah, I've done it. Wow. It's very different. So there's all these. Sometimes karma can sound a little bit black and white, but it's the opposite. It's very fine-tuned, and we can't always see the gradations.
Yeah, once Geshe Wangchen said, it's not like a car factory. It's like the currents under the sea. It's taking things in a certain direction, but it's not as simple like a factory. I think it's very important to remember that. This is a process. It's a process of nature. And it's going in a certain way. But we can redirect it. We can reduce the strength of the current. There's many things we can do.
I have a question. When we talk about purifying, what are we purifying? Our mind, our thought, the action we have done, or because when you requested to think about an action we regret, I thought about something specifically. But when we purify, our being that led to that action, or
Okay. What we purify is the potential created by that action. When you complete an action, it leaves a potential for a result. And it's like, the best example is like a seed for growing some plants. And if you put the seeds near the fire, then it destroys their life. The seed is still there, but it can't grow anymore. So the purification is stopping the seed from growing. It can't grow.
of that specific
That's
action.
of that specific action, or sometimes we do purification practice for our negative actions in general. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
we can't, as Shan said earlier, we can't remember all the negative actions we did. So therefore we do practice like Vajrasattva practice for all the negative actions we did. Or sometimes our mind might be thinking, we're thinking about killing, for example, we're reading about the war or something like that, and we think, oh boy, I did all those things. So many lifetimes I was somebody doing that. I was doing that. And then we feel strong regret for all the killing we ever did. So this kind of thing, we can focus like that.
Just one small question. The non-religious, what we have of the mind, the three ones of the mind. We have three of the body, four of the speech, and three of the mind.
Yeah.
The ones of the mind, these are not actions that are at the level of a physical action, but are at the level of the mind, right?
Yeah. They didn't yet harm another person, but they certainly harmed us.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Last time we did a purification which was much longer.
We are going to do that
this
after
one.
break again.
So what's this? This one was shorter.
The short Vajrasattva mantra is the short mantra.
The short version, the quick version.
When you don't have time, you do this one.
Yeah, also it's easy to remember, but the long one is more powerful. So
No, for the
it depends what you
100,000
can
it's
do.
the other one.
It's up to you.
I have a question, maybe a silly one, but still. All the animals were once humans?
We've all been everything, because there is beginningless rebirths. We have all done everything there is to do, many times. You might think, well, how do you know there's beginningless rebirths? And that's a good question. The Buddha
That
taught
was not my question.
No, I know. Okay, so what's your question?
It's not a question, it's a thought, I don't think.
Okay, what do you want to share?
It's, I have a lot of issues regarding, eating animals.
Oh, yeah.
And therefore, if we all been animals and animals all been humans, if all animals have been humans and we don't eat humans because it's considered non-virtuous, I think. So it's just a thought,
Sure. Once His Holiness Dalai Lama said, how would you like it if another species looked at you and said, oh, they're very tasty?
And torture you before that.
Maybe we should stop for a tea break.
Don't take any humans in the way. Bye.